Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. The University of the West Indies has activated a coronavirus response plan regarding transfer students and teachers currently in China. The university says it has been closely monitoring the coronavirus outbreak in China because of its links with China. The UWI has an administrative presence and 36 students enrolled in a BSc software engineering program at UWI China Institute of Information Technology, which allows for 2 years of study at the Global Institute of Software Technology, GIST. Now, at this time of the inter-semester break, 28 students and 1 administrator are currently in Suzhou, China. UWI says it's working closely with GIST and other relevant local authorities in China to ensure the safety and well-being of students and staff. The university noted that it is also engaging global precautionary measures as well as the positions adopted by its stakeholder governments in relation to the travel advisories and screening protocols. Now, the city of Suzhou in China is not within the epicenter of the virus. Nevertheless, the GIST campus remains closed until February 23, when the new semester is expected to begin. UWI argues that there is continuous on-site support on the campus and medical screening protocols have been established. The UWI leadership says it's in regular contact with GIST and is receiving situation reports. The university has also held meetings with the students and communicated directly with parents and guardians who will meet with university officials on Friday. Meanwhile, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has provided clarification on the travel advisory issued for persons wishing to travel between Jamaica and China. In light of the deadly corona outbreak in China, the Health Minister on Tuesday advised that persons should avoid traveling to China and that persons in China should stay there. However, in Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives, Opposition Foreign Affairs spokesperson Lisa Hanna raised concern about Jamaicans in China who would be stranded.
Is if a student or a resident of Jamaica from China wanted to come back because of whether anxiety or the threat levels get too high, would the government be willing to help repatriate that student back to Jamaica, or would they be allowed, depending on the exigencies, to come back in?
Clearly, we are not going to refuse entry to our national who wants to return home for one reason or the other. In China, however, there are some restrictions around travel, depending on where you are, that the government has imposed. So once you would have maneuvered that, which the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would be better able to comment on, and those persons clearly would be allowed in, but subject to appropriate quarantine arrangements, which is why I spoke to protocols. Could be isolation, so they may have to stay home for a period of time and checked on periodically by the medical practitioners to ensure that they are free during that incubation period.
Meanwhile, some 200 U.S. citizens are due to be quarantined in California after arriving from Wuhan, China amid the coronavirus outbreak. The passengers, mostly diplomats, were evacuated via a chartered flight that landed on U.S. soil on Wednesday. We have the details from the CNN. And we do apologize for the absence of audio on that clip. We'll try to rectify it as soon as possible. Now, all this comes as the death toll in China from the coronavirus reached 170. The worst hit province of Hubei has so far reported 37 fatalities. 7,711 people in China are now confirmed to have the infection, with 1,032 new cases in Hubei. The World Health Organization, WHO, yesterday warned all governments to take action over the virus that originated in Hubei as hundreds of foreigners were evacuated from the city. Beyond China, more than a dozen countries have reported the illness, with new cases reported yesterday in Finland and in the United Arab Emirates. Now, the World Health Organization will hold an urgent meeting today over whether the outbreak should be declared a global health emergency, a designation that can lead to increased international coordination. It has described the global risk from the virus as high. And we know, go back to that story we had earlier where some 200 U.S. citizens are being quarantined after coming in, landing in the U.S. from China.
The coronavirus is spreading rapidly, we think, in China. We think it is appropriate that our citizens who are in the epicenter of that outbreak in Wuhan be repatriated home for their own safety.
American evacuees from the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak are now under evaluation at the March Air Reserve Base in Southern California, being kept away from other people in a separate part of the base.
We are going to monitor them for the full extent of their incubation period.
The evacuees were isolated on the plane bringing them back.
The way that this plane was put together, the upper level of the crew was completely separated from the lower passengers. So airflow, every sort of interaction between the top and the bottom were completely isolated.
More than 160 people in at least 36 states have now been investigated for possible infections by the CDC. So is the world on the verge of a global health emergency? On Thursday, officials at the World Health Organization will reconvene to consider declaring one. American health officials are now airing their concerns.
This is a very serious and rapidly evolving situation. This is a potential public health threat in the United States.
And we now take a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. There's more when we return. Welcome back, continuing the news. In other news, no country is ever fully prepared. That's the response from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, following criticism on social media in the aftermath of Tuesday's earthquake. The agency was criticized for what persons deemed as a slow response after the 7.7 magnitude quake rocked the region. However, speaking on the morning agenda, Acting Director General of ODPEM, Richard Thompson, says the agency's on-the-ground emergency response procedures were activated. However, Mr. Thompson admitted that there are deficiencies in its emergency communication and warning structure. At present, the agency is heavily dependent on the media to get messages to the public. He says until those additional measures are finalized, the focus will be on the extensive public awareness campaign.
It takes time in terms of the stuff that you roll out to a country. And a lot of great countries across the world is not fully prepared for an earthquake. You can never be fully prepared for an earthquake, but you can ensure that there are preparedness measures, and your preparedness measures take time. It's not an immediate effect. And so because your hardcore preparedness measures take time, what you have to do is to ensure that there is a broader public awareness.
New restrictions by the National Water Commission, NWC, are to begin in the corporate area today. The NWC made the announcement through a media release. The NWC news release stated that the Hermitage Dam and Mona Reservoir are now at 89% and 82% of their respective capacities. This, it says, is as a result of reduced inflows. On Monday, the Barbados-based Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum warned of possible drought conditions during the February to April period of this year. It said Jamaica will be among the affected countries. The NWC stated that starting Thursday, January 30, areas supplied by the Mona treatment plant will experience nightly supply disruptions between 9 p.m. and 5 o'clock the following morning. With the nightly reduction in operations, NWC customers might have no water or experience low water pressure. Affected areas include sections of Mona Heights, Old Hope Road, Hope Flats, Lady Musgrave Road, sections of New Kingston and Halfway Tree, Hagley Park Road, Maxfield Avenue, Malines Road, sections of Harborview and Mountain View Avenue. Other areas on the list are Crossroads, South Camp Road, Downtown Kingston, Beverly Hills, Ravina, Mona Road, Devon Square, Waterloo Road, Cassia Park, and Eastwood Park. Assistant Commissioner of Police Gary Griffiths is this afternoon urging lawmen to evaluate themselves so they are more effective in policing. He says the call follows several complaints of poor service by police officers working in the Area 5 Police Division. ACP Griffiths was speaking at an annual devotional meeting held recently at the Greater Portmore Police Station. TVJ's Prince Moore has the details.
The Area 5 Police Division has accounted for at least 5 domestic murders since the start of the year. Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of the division, Gary Griffiths, is fearful that this figure may increase. This is because he believes there is a lack of commitment from law enforcers who work in various communities within the division.
What we're getting is police, and I know people listening everywhere, but we're getting our police who are treating policing as a fire department. You just run out to a fire and come back. So you don't own the communities that you police.
ACP Griffiths adds that poor service from police officers is among the list of complaints received from citizens, which he says is unacceptable.
There was a time when policing was something that was seen as a service. Now there are complaints, people coming to stations, and the type of service delivery is extremely poor. Police are on their phones, which is disrespectful. They're doing everything except paying kind of attention.
And to make matters worse, he indicated that the resources of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, is not being maintained.
We can't be destroying the vehicles left, right, and center and let it complain with our vehicles. And it doesn't affect us as police. It affects the people who want service. That's one of the realities that we have to face. How we treat the resources offered to us, and how we use those resources to better the people who need assistance from us. So we're asking, we're begging police, in order to be a force for good, we have to first evaluate ourselves.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Grammy winner Koffee continues to get plaudits locally. The 19-year-old reggae sensation became the youngest person to win the prestigious musical award last weekend. Head of the National Integrity Action, Professor Trevor Monroe, used the artist's story to rally young people to stay away from a life of crime and corruption. Professor Monroe was addressing students at an Integrity Club launch in Kingston on Wednesday.
A first in the world, getting a Grammy award a couple of days ago. She is now worth, at age 19, 40.5 million Jamaican dollars, 300,000 US. Usain, he is worth 90 million US dollars, 1.2 billion. And neither of them are scammer. They use their talent, the God-given talent, which each of you have, and they use it to benefit others. Koffee, many charities, she did the Issa Trust charity performance, children benefit.
And that's the midday news. Remember, primetime news is at 7. On behalf of the entire team, pleasant viewing.